Hello, everybody. I want to thank all of you for writing, calling, and reaching out these past few weeks. I know how concerned many of you are about the direction of our country, and I certainly share your concern. This is a perilous time, not just because of the policies being pushed, but because of the way that congressional Republicans are enabling Donald Trump and abandoning their own responsibilities. You have my word that I won't back down. I'm using every tool at my disposal to push back when necessary. Here's a few things that I'm doing so far. On the House Appropriations Committee, I'm fighting to protect our power of the purse that we have in Congress. I'm fighting to ensure that taxpayer money, your money, is being spent according to the law of the land, not at the whim of an increasingly reckless administration. I'm supporting the Stop Project 2025 task force to help state attorneys general fight back against radical, anti-democratic policies. And through the End Corruption Caucus, I'm working to expose the billionaires and special interests who are pulling the strings behind Trump's agenda. I'm also making sure the public understands what is happening. Through interviews or direct interactions like this, I'm calling out the administration's abuses of power. Every month, I hold town halls and I hold roundtables to keep my constituents informed. And we're going to keep doing them. And in fact, I have one coming up next Tuesday, February 11th at 5 o'clock p.m. I'm working to keep House Democrats united, while also seeking opportunities when they exist for genuine bipartisanship to combat extremism from taking hold. Republicans may hold the gavels, but they don't control the fight. And I want you to know I'm in it every step of the way. Democrats might be out of power, but we're not powerless. Now, let's talk for a minute about what's actually happening, because Trump and his allies are not trying to reform government. They're trying to dismantle it. They have a so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. But the reality is they really aren't making any progress in modernizing how government operates. Instead, they're using the inefficiencies that they perceive as an excuse to rip government apart. There's a difference between reform and destruction. This is destruction, not reform. I believe in efficiency and making government work better. I passed 34 bipartisan bills, 16 signed by Trump, 18 signed by Biden. I know how to work across the aisle to get things done. And where we can work together, I will. I've also made a commitment to stand up to extremism whenever necessary. Unfortunately, these past few weeks have made one thing very clear to me. Trump is no longer bound by legal or historical norms. He's testing the very limits of what he can get away with. And way too many of my Republican colleagues are letting him do it. So to those Republicans who are watching this who support President Trump, I have one question for you. What happens when he's no longer president? What happens when you've destroyed every guardrail, when you've dismantled every check and balance, when you've set a precedent that a president of the United States can ignore the law with impunity? What happens when a Democratic president comes into office who uses those same powers? Is that what you want to see? Let's use just a few examples of what Trump is doing. First, pardoning violent rioters. Trump's decision to pardon those who attacked police officers on January 6th was not a mistake. It was a betrayal of our values and the rule of law. Again, these are people who violently attacked police officers, many of them. Over 70% of Americans oppose these pardons. This wasn't about justice. It certainly hasn't made us safer. It was simply about rewarding loyalty. Second, overriding Congress's spending authority. The Constitution is clear. Congress, and only Congress, holds the power of the purse. 50 years ago, when Richard Nixon tried to withhold funding that Congress had approved, Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly came together to pass the Impoundment Control Act of 1974, which the Supreme Court upheld, 7-1. Trump is now completely ignoring that precedent, trying to control all federal spending by himself. That's not efficiency, it's lawlessness. Third is the great billionaire takeover of our government. It was reported that even some inside the White House know that much of what Elon Musk is doing appears to be illegal. Musk has been given sweeping control over federal agencies, even removing entire government websites overnight with no process, no justification. One official put it bluntly, and I quote, this is a former official, not a current Trump official, to be clear. So many of these things are so wildly illegal, they're betting the system can't react fast enough. And Musk has a band of 20-somethings doing this. Fourth, trying to ban birthright citizenship. The 14th Amendment is crystal clear. If you're born in the United States, you're a citizen. This isn't up for debate. Yet Trump is trying to undo this by executive order. He can't, and a judge has already blocked it indefinitely. But the fact that he's even attempting to do this is a big warning sign. Fifth is the firing of government watchdogs. If Trump truly cared about reducing waste, fraud, and abuse in government, he wouldn't be firing the inspectors general, because the inspectors general are the very independent officials, the nonpartisan officials who are responsible for investigating that very waste, fraud, and abuse. And I've seen this in my hearings for the last 6 years. When Republicans bring the inspectors general to answer questions about the perceived waste, fraud, or abuse in those agencies. His mass firing of inspectors general is a direct attack on accountability. And right now there is no one watching the store. These watchdogs protect taxpayer money. Removing them paves the way for corruption, has nothing to do with efficiency, and everything to do with loyalty. Loyalty to Musk, loyalty to Trump, and the big billionaire takeover. Sixth is Trump's plan to dismantle the Department of Education. My own children attend Title I public schools in our community, and they're enrolled in a dual language immersion program. The idea that Trump and Musk want to strip all federal education spending, or as much as they can, is incredibly damaging to this country, to the young people that we need to invest in for a better future. If they succeed, low-income schools, like the ones my kids go to, are going to lose critical resources. Special education programs that get funded through a program called IDEA are at risk entirely. And even Pell Grants for college students could disappear altogether. And we're going to fight back. Seventh, the so-called U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund. Trump wants to create a massive financial fund. The problem is there's no legal framework approved by Congress. There's no oversight approved by Congress. And there's no funding, the seed money for the fund, appropriated by Congress. So real sovereign wealth funds, like, for example, those in Norway, have very strict rules. They have accountability, they have oversight, and they have seed funding. This plan, I believe, looks more like a slush fund for the billionaire friends of this president. Again, the great billionaire takeover. Eighth, the attempt to eliminate USAID. This is America's top global development agency. Much has been said and written about USAID. And I do believe that it would be appropriate for us to have a discussion in good faith about USAID, what's working, what's not, how it could improve. That's a fair discussion to have. And that's Congress's responsibility to carry out. We all know that USAID provides disaster relief, fights famine, strengthens democracy worldwide. Of course, now it's being shut down. They've taken the website offline. They placed employees on administrative leave. It's reckless, defunding USAID means that China will fill the gap. If you're concerned about competition with China, you should be concerned about closing and ending the services being provided by USAID. It weakens U.S. influence, makes us less secure. All this leads to a bigger question. With all these things, where in the hell are my Republican colleagues in Congress who hold the gavels, who could stand up to this president, who know better? James Madison, in Federalist number 51, believed that Congress would guard its own power against an overreaching executive. He wrote, and I quote, "Ambition must be made to counteract ambition." In other words, Madison believed that members of Congress would defend their institution's authority regardless of party. But I don't think Madison ever could anticipate this level of partisanship. He assumed Congress would check the president, not bow to him. But today, too many of my Republican colleagues are abandoning their constitutional duty. They were elected as well. They took the oath of office. They're letting Trump seize power because they fear his base more than they respect our Constitution. I won't be a part of it. I'm going to fight to defend democracy and to defend our values. My grandfather didn't fight in World War II against fascism to see our country overtaken by autocrats. And I want to be clear. This isn't even just about President Trump. This is about preserving our Constitution. It's about preserving our checks and balances that have been the foundation of our democracy for almost 250 years. Congress has a duty to act, and the American people have a duty to stay engaged. I know these are tough times, but I believe in this country. I always will. Believe that if we stand together, if we demand accountability, if we refuse to be silent, we can stop this slide before it's too late. And I'm going to do everything I can from a legislative perspective, from a procedural perspective, partnering with those who are litigating, partnering with those who are communicating, and I'm going to need your help to lift it all up. I know a lot of you have been calling and writing and texting. I see you. I hear you. You've been asking how you can help. I'd invite all of you to follow me across all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, X, BlueSky. Amplify our message. Amplify the message of my colleagues and others that you choose. Sign up for my newsletter. Visit our website, levin.house.gov. I'll send the link out to subscribe. But I hope, above all, that you don't give up and that you keep fighting, because this country is worth the fight. Thank you.